why a billionaire by 30? Like why that number? Why that age? Why that cap number? Why that age number? And what do you expect or assume being a billionaire will mean for you?
Well, I've got 8 years to get there, so
Sure, but I mean, but like even myself, and I've done a lot of different companies at this point. I mean, I was 24, 25 before I finished graduate school, right? I didn't even get out into the working world until after graduate school. So you're ahead of me, certainly in time-wise, but like why that number in ambition? Sure, you have time to get there, but
I don't think it's, so why that number? I don't think it's that much more work to build $1 billion, become a billionaire than it is to make and sell your company for $100 million,
I love the ambition in that. I love that.
I think you're just playing with different numbers. I think you need to raise more capital and things like that. But in some sense, it's actually easier because if you can go raise $1 billion in capital, it's actually a lot easier to become a billionaire because you can basically hire the best people in the world, and really kind of make something. So I think, kind of Candid was an 8-figure company, an 8-figure acquisition. FlashPass is going to be a 9-figure sort of company here pretty soon. And I think the next logical step is to not go backwards or stay at the same. The next thing we want to do is going to be a 10-figure company or sort of a multi-billion-dollar exit. So that's how we got to that number. It's like just maintain that positive momentum and kind of like make sure that the next thing is equally big, bigger, kind of growing the same multiple. The underpinning ambition is probably a conversation for a later time, but I think fundamentally I worry about humanity. I think that we are very likely to wipe ourselves out fairly soon, whether it's nuclear war or another pandemic, and bio sort of engineered weapons. But we sort of all have the capacity right now as a species to completely destroy ourselves, and I don't think we're stable enough. And the percentage is non-zero that over the next 1,000 years, something doesn't happen. We don't just get wiped out as a species. And I have a few ideas on how you can sort of counteract that or fix that. But I think it's very hard to do that if you don't have a platform and credibility. And I think one of the easiest ways to do that is becoming one of the world's youngest billionaires will give you a megaphone and an audience and sort of a platform to maybe develop some of those tools or things I want to do. I think that will ultimately substantial to the future of the human race.
I mean, I love that vision in that in some ways, don't say this wrong, the hubris that you think you're someone who can go help make that change in value add for us. I will say humanity has faced many, since the start of the Cold War, essentially, we've had existential threats of being able to destroy ourselves. But okay, so on that note, last two questions. Given your ambitions, where you want to go and what you want to achieve, do you even understand the term work-life balance or work-life harmony in your life? Like, what does that even mean? And should it even matter for someone who wants to achieve $1 billion by 30?
Yeah, I would say there's honestly not a ton of it. Kind of take it one day at a time, and maybe there will be sort of like long-term work-life balance, but I'd say right now it's not a concern or a consideration.
Yeah, fair enough. If there's one piece of advice that you would give to anyone who wants to be a successful entrepreneur, right? The followers of this podcast, to be an excellent entrepreneur, what is that single piece of advice that you would give them?
I think it really comes down to that idea of it's just as easy to do something big as it is to do something small. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, set your sights on a big target and kind of back out from there. Because even if you fail, an objective failure in that goal could still, number one, be a life-changing outcome for you. But the type of things you're going to learn playing in those arenas, when you're playing with tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, are going to be infinitely more impactful and elevate your career more than trying to bootstrap or start something from the ground up or try to build something very niche.